So I have a unique perspective since I was a candidate in a ranked choice, in a contentious ranked choice voting election. But prior to that, when ranked choice voting was first being implemented, I was the executive director of the Asian Law Caucus. And we have a long history in advocating for voting rights. So the one thing I would talk about that no one has really mentioned has been whether ranked choice voting enfranchises or disenfranchises communities that haven't traditionally turned out. So I think that that's what the literature espoused and talked about. But I think as advocates, all of us were a little bit skeptical. Let's just be honest, because we weren't really sure in the end whether or not we would be able to educate our communities to really get them to properly fill out the ballots. We had just come from San Francisco where we used to do at-large elections. So unlike Oakland, we used to elect all our supervisors at large. And we had gone through an electoral history where we used to encourage people to bullet vote. So we would not encourage everybody to say, hey, if you have 5 choices, please fill out all 5. Please just vote for one person. Because that was a way a community would sort of help enfranchise itself and not dilute their vote. So here we were going a couple years later to ask people to fill out 3. And not just 3, but 3 in a particular order. So the Asian Law Caucus in 2003 was actually a grantee of the Department of Elections to do outreach to the Asian community on how to fill out the ballots. And I think even given our concern going into the election, I was, sorry, not 2004, I was very pleased that a study by San Francisco State actually showed very little, I think Tim was just being polite, I mean, almost 0 confusion the very first time that ranked choice voting was rolled out. I think anytime you implement a system for the first time, there's always going to be some unexpected things that happen. That would happen if you changed the color of the ballot. You'd have unexpected things. If you did anything, change the font, you would have unexpected issues. So I think for all of you who are just community members or advocates, I think it's really important to work with Alameda County to make sure that there's money set aside to properly educate, especially lower income, disenfranchised communities that are lower voter turnout communities, to ensure that they truly understand how to do that. One of the other things that we really encouraged the Department of Elections to do was to not just do traditional media buys, but to buy ads and do a lot of work in ethnic media. And we found that to be very, very helpful in educating folks, especially limited English-speaking communities. So in 2004, when, again, what John points out exactly the stat, that actually you had higher voter participation than you did when you had runoff elections. And I think it's interesting, depending on who puts out an idea in San Francisco, it's immediately suspect from the other community. Immediately. Everyone could have agreed if it was like, I kind of feel like it should be like a taste test. No one knows whose idea it was, and then you just say whether you like it or not. But in San Francisco, the second someone says it, then someone's going to be against it. That's just the way it is. I'll just put it this way, because people look at it as this is a progressive idea, so this only helps progressives. And I think Jim pointed out very, very clearly, this doesn't change campaign mechanics. Campaigns are still about talking to voters, doing voter outreach, convincing the most number of voters to vote for you or to vote for you, period.